Wow, this is actually sad. I mean, it's not sad, but I mean, it's... The old die off to make room for the new. I guess Daily Wire Plus has kind of taken a lot of the audience that PragerU once had, huh? What did I say? What did I say, guys? This type of content has so little substance and so little soul to it that it is so easy for someone else to come along and take up the exact same mantle and just spill the exact same garbage. There is very little lifespan to these right-wing propaganda channels. They make a lot of money and get a lot of views in the time that they're popular. When someone else comes along that fits into the meta, they just take it right back up. Isn't it telling that, like, me as a left-wing channel, granted my growth has been slow and deliberate, I'm no less popular. I'm more popular now than I was when I started doing this, and my popularity has not, like, no one's come and, like, replaced what I do. No one's come and replaced, like, what Vosh does, or what, like, Shark does, or what Demon Mama does. Like, there isn't this, like, or even, like, what any other lefty content creators do, like ContraPoints and whatnot. New people come along and, like, are inspired by them, but their channels don't just die out because, like, someone else is doing exactly what they did, but with the new meta, right? That doesn't really seem to happen as much, because it seems like left-wing figures have a little bit more, like, soul and passion for what they do. Even, like, the ones that I do think are grifting fucks seem to have a little bit more soul and passion what they do, and the audience tends to watch the content for more than having their opinions reevaluated. Reaffirmed. I'm not saying you guys don't watch my content to have your opinions reaffirmed. Many of you do. But and you I guess it's okay, but you should really think for yourselves too. But the right only puts out content for the reaffirmation of people who agree with them and the brainwashing of those that are susceptible to agreeing with them. So I'm surprised to see that PragerU is not getting that many views anymore. Though this video stands out to me, it's from 13 days ago. To the left, strong versus weak is more important than right versus wrong. And there's an Israeli flag in the thumbnail, and there's a picture of Trevor Noah, and it says Israel, good or bad. Is Trevor Noah anti-Israel? I mean, I feel like he'd be likely to be. That's a repost from them. I don't care. It's still content, my friends. It's only a 4-minute video. Is this going to be like them responding to Trevor Noah, or is it just a clip of Trevor Noah? Oh no, it's them responding to Trevor Noah. Okay, let's see them respond to Trevor Noah. For the record, by the way, I think Trevor Noah is... I like John Oliver. He is my favorite of the internet left-wing, like, talky men. He is my favorite of them. Seth Meyers is my least favorite of them. I fucking hate Seth Meyers, all right? Trevor Noah sits somewhere between Seth Meyers and John Oliver for me. He's certainly not as bad as Seth Meyers, but he does not even come close to being as good as John Oliver. Noah is just unfunny. I think he can be funny sometimes. I think Trevor Noah dips a little bit too far, like a little bit cringily too much into the liberal id pole. And you gotta dip pretty far into liberal id pole to make me cringe. Because, I mean, I am, like, a fucking intersectional, like, feminist, progressive, lib type, you know? Not let's go to that! No, not let's go to that! I was saying let's go to me getting the audio booster to work. Wait, hold on, no, wait. No, don't clip that. Hold on, no. I was saying let's go to getting the audio booster to work. Hold on. Not to the Israel fucking bombing Gaza. Okay, oh, jeez. Oh, boy. Wow, okay, let's not... Come on, guys. Come on. No, don't do that. Don't be like that. Come on. Don't be like that. Damn. You guys got me, by the way. Basically, he's summing up the casualty comparisons between what Hamas has done to Israel and what Israel has done to Palestine, and claiming that they are going after Hamas. Like lobbing missiles at a civilian population, which is what Hamas does when they fire rockets at Israel, is horrible and objectively bad. But you know what else is horrible and objectively bad, a country that literally determines its citizenship based on race and ethnicity, that has one of the most reactionary and right-wing governments in the Western world, that is allied and backed by the most powerful country in the whole world, that is engaging in a literal turf and territory grab of a group of people that have lived there for, I actually don't know how long, but I'm gonna guess minimum hundreds of years, possibly thousands, probably thousands. Obviously, there's the settlement, like the settlements thing, where like the Israeli state is like expanding out and they're establishing settlements in Palestinian territory. More so, it's been a while since I've covered this, so I'm like blanking a lot on the geography, but I'm pretty sure to the west of Israel is where the land is that belongs to Palestine that they are encroaching into. That is where you're seeing a lot of the settlement stuff happening. I may be wrong though on the geography. And the Gaza Strip is to the east of Israel, more so. I'm probably wrong about the geography here. Go fucking Google it. But I'm doing my best to like visualize it here. Pull up a map. I should do that. Why didn't I do that in the first place? So this is Israel right here. And this is the Gaza Strip. Wow. That might be the most geographically obvious border I've ever seen. Why did they even put the dotted line there? You can just tell by looking from the sky. Yeah, no fucking shit. There's a line in the fucking earth that denotes where the Gaza Strip ends and Israel begins. Holy shit. I wonder what it looks like when you zoom in on this area. What's going on here? Yeah, it's... Why did I think there would be Street View? Why did I think that there would be Street View? Google, how much would you pay me to drive a Google car down the border of the Gaza Strip? I will do it for $1 million. I will drive up and down this shit in the Google car and get you Street View for $1 million, Google. I'll do it. I will fucking do it. I'll do it. With you thought they'd allow a Google car there? I mean, maybe. Or is there even like, wow. I mean, are you fucking surprised? Wow. Not in Israel either, it looks like, by the way. Not much in Israel either. Like, some of the main highways and main cities. But besides that, it's like random fucking photo points. Aztec Monument. Why I read... Dyslexia. I read that as Aztec Monument. And Anzac Monument is the closest photo point that I can get to the border. God help me. Okay. We're stun locking way too fucking hard on this. Anyway, I wish the borders were a little bit more defined. I'm going to switch to this so it's easier. So here we have Israel. And here we have the Gaza Strip. Wait, I was right. So to the west, we have the Gaza Strip. And then to the east, we have the area of the West Bank here that Israel... Well, it's more actually to the north. That Israel is sort of like encroaching into. As a matter of fact, someone in chat linked a map that goes a little bit more into detail. The Israel Live UA map. That literally breaks down what the fuck is going on. Oh, wow. Death. That's always a good thing to see on a map. Am I right, guys? Death. Israeli army says troops came under gunfire at the Jalama crossing in the northwest bank earlier. 2 Palestinian gunmen shot. The Israeli army says it will provide more details later. Well, that's great. Anyway, yeah, you can kind of see a little bit of what's going on. Let's look at what's going on in the Strip first. We'll start here. Hamas has announced a restoration of ties with Syria's Assad government. Oh, lovely. I'm sure that Israel will absolutely use that as justification to bomb more Palestinians. Israeli army says it arrested 4 Palestinians and confiscated 2 vessels at sea off the coast of Gaza overnight. The military suspects they were involved in a smuggling attempt. I will note, by the way, that Israel's claims about this conflict have oftentimes proved themselves to be dubious at best. They have a tendency to whitewash their own actions and intentions a lot. Israeli army says troops arrested 17 wanted Palestinians during overnight raids. Let's see what's going on in the West Bank. Press says Israeli forces arrested about 20 Birzeit University students who were camping in the Zarqwa? I cannot with these names. I'm sorry. If you want to claim that I'm ignorant for not being able to pronounce these names, then go ahead, okay? I'm American. NA education. Between the towns of Beit Rima and Aboud, northwest of Ramallah. Huh. Well, they arrested 20 fucking students who were camping. Just for camping? That sounds a little fucking cringe. Not a big fan of that. What's happening more recently? Israeli army says troops arrested 8 wanted Palestinians. That's the one we just saw. U.S. Special Envoy for the Combating Anti-Semitism your Iranian President Raisi's call for... Oh my god, my brain is poisoned by video games, okay? The villain in Dying Light's name is Rice, and this guy's name is Ricey. Literally an I added onto the end. Very similar name. For those that don't know, Dying Light is a dope-ass game that takes place in Turkey, and the lore of the game is that, like, the Olympics were being held there when the apocalypse happened, so everybody is from, like, different parts of the world. And so, like, it's, like, a really, really, like, massive melting pot hodgepodge type zombie apocalypse, and it's dope as fuck. Holocaust happening ludicrous. Wait, hold on. Iranian President Raisi's call for research to determine whether the Holocaust happened is ludicrous and dangerous. His statement is a form of Holocaust denial and a form of anti-Semitism. Huh. How do I feel about that? Is it anti-Semitic to inspect the evidence of the Holocaust? Because one of the big issues that the Nazis burned and destroyed a lot of the evidence of their genocide. So it's really hard to nail down exact numbers on how many people were murdered. Zan don't fall for their Israeli Jewish propaganda. Okay, so there's a really big problem that Israel likes to do where they will weaponize real anti-Semitism and make it seem as though that is evidence that their horrible actions are justified. And then they will conflate genuine criticism of the state of Israel with anti-Semitism. And then it gets even more frustrating when the state of Israel, or even the state of Israel's fucking president, or ex-president Netanyahu, says things like, the Jews that died in the Holocaust weren't real Jews. And it's like, what the fuck? How are you claiming people are anti-Semitic? It's like, okay. I'm pretty sure Netanyahu literally said that, by the way. Hold on, let me fact check that. Don't want to spread misinformation. Oh, never mind. I'm a little bit off. Netanyahu insisted Adolf Hitler only wanted to expel Jews from Europe, but that Grand Mufti, Jerusalem Haj Amin al-Husseini, told him, burn them. So basically, Netanyahu claimed that Adolf Hitler was only going to just deport all the Jews from Europe, but then the Palestinians were like, nah, Hitler, you know it would be really fucking pog? If you genocided the Jews. Sorry, so it wasn't that he said that the Jews that died in the Holocaust were not real Jews. It was that it was the Palestinians' fault and not Hitler's fault that Hitler killed the Jews. My bad. I believe that was actually Bibi that might have said that, like his son, I think it was. Somebody said that. Somebody in high regard in Israel said that the Jews that were killed in the Holocaust weren't real Jews. I know for a fucking fact. I'm just mixing up the people who said it. It really is a terrifying amount of literal Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism coming out of Israel, isn't it? Isn't it kind of fucking weird? Anyway, let's hear PragerU's Zionism.
Instead of evaluating people
Oh, 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 oh. That was absolutely monstrous, absolutely fucking demonic. All right, back to normal volume.
and nations on the basis of right and wrong or good and evil, the left evaluates them on the basis of weak and strong. If you're weak,
all right, very cool. So we're already starting with a complete straw man of somebody who I don't even entirely agrees with arguments. That's fucking hilarious. The argument that Trevor Noah was making here was not that Israel is in the wrong because Israel is stronger, and Palestine is in the right because Palestine is weaker. He was making the argument that Israel creates propaganda framing itself as a victim of Palestine and of the Palestinians' hatred for them and of Hamas's murder of them. And that it is they nonstop frame themselves as Israel being the underdog, Israel being the ones under attack, when the evidence overwhelmingly suggests that Israel is the one racking up nonstop kills. They're the ones encroaching on Palestinian territory, and the evidence is just not on the side of Israel. The evidence is also on the side of Israel pushing massive amounts of propaganda meant to spread anti-Palestinian, literally racist ideology. People like most listen, I'm not going to say that every single Zionist who says something bad speaks for Israel, but like when you have large public figures who are proud Zionists like Ben Shapiro, who have gone on record saying that Palestinians only know how to live in the fucking sewers and eat their own filth and shit, and they live on, or whatever he said. It was something along those lines. They only know how to commit violence, kill, and eat their own feces or something he said, and live in the sewers. Like, when you have avowed Zionists who are large public figures saying things like that, it starts to become pretty obvious, like, what the framing is supposed to be here. That the enemy are these you know what it is? The Zionist position is to frame the Palestinians as being these morally corrupt, filthy, disgusting savages, while at the same time being overwhelmingly dangerous and a threat to the way of life of Israelis. And not only that, but to the way of life of any Jewish person on earth. Isn't that strange? The enemy is simultaneously weak and pathetic, but an overwhelming danger to your Arabs, not Palestinians. Thank you. Even better. Oh my God. It was an even broader ethnic group, not even, or racial, or ethnic group, racial, I don't even know. Not even just the people of a country. It was even more racist than I thought. He obviously, listen, if the quote was referring to Palestinians, he would have obviously meant Arabs. But I'm glad that he was just honest enough to say Arabs and not use the Palestinian dog whistle. Because let's be real, tons of people who are just hate Arab people and are just racist against them will literally just say, I'm just a Zionist. Oh, I don't like Palestine, because it's one of the instances in which it's acceptable, in America at least, to take the side of Israel against the evil brown people or whatever. It's very common. It is very common. It's what I won't say it's what PragerU does, because I mean PragerU is definitely a Zionist organization. But let's hear the straw man. Let's hear it.
Weak, you're good. If you're strong, you're bad. Israel is strong, therefore it is bad. America is strong, therefore it is bad.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. No, the point that Trevor Noah made was that obviously Hamas is bad, and obviously the Israeli bombing of Palestinian citizens that are not Hamas is bad, as well as the other practices that Israel has engaged in. However, the thing that he was pointing out is that the propaganda is dishonest on the side of Israel. It is not an Israel is the underdog fighting off an evil oppressor that is trying to encroach on their way of life in their land. That is all that he's calling out here. PragerU and people who support Zionism do not have an argument against that call out, because it is a very apt call out. Israel loves to make themselves seem like the victim when they are in fact a fucking powerhouse. okay? Israel is a military fucking powerhouse that likes to make itself seem like the little kid on the playground that's getting its candy taken away, okay? Like, Israel is like the little kid on the playground that has the teacher standing over him 24/7 to make sure nobody picks on him. Ooh, we got an actual Nazi in the chat. There we go. See, I can prove that I am not, in fact, anti-Semitic by banning a Nazi as I dunk on the Zionists. With that said, though, I think that it's important to remember that this is not an argument. Trevor Noah made a true statement. PragerU, which is a Zionist organization, realized they cannot argue against what was said, so he is strawmanning the position of Trevor Noah and is going to say, the left thinks that if you're strong, you're bad, and if you're weak, you're good. And, you know, that kind of sounds like it makes sense, right? Like, to the average politically uninformed dumbfuck who's likely to click on a PragerU video and actually take whatever it says seriously, doesn't that sound kind of intuitive? The people who watch this type of content want to have the opinions that they got from common sense and pulling shit out of their ass reaffirmed. They want to feel like they are smart and logical enough to have come to the right conclusion on their own, and anybody who challenges that and does not reaffirm that is offensive to them. It will not be until, as George Carlin said, they reach the age of reason that they realize they have just been being fed propaganda, that they're having reaffirm all of their opinions, and they're not challenging themselves, and they're existing in an echo chamber. One day they will realize.
The Palestinians are regarded as weak. Therefore, they're good. When you're guided by a moral compass, you don't ask who's strong.
By the way, the Palestinians are not weak. The Palestinians are being victimized. There is a difference. There's a difference between saying the Palestinians are weak and saying the Palestinians are being victimized. The Palestinians are being victimized. They are not weak. I don't know. It just seems like such a weird... It's like in this video, they have to put in like the Palestinians are so weak and shitty, aren't they? Propaganda in their video. I don't know.
And who's weak? You ask who's morally right and who's morally wrong.
Is this him admitting that Palestine or any threat that could come from Palestine is lesser than Israel makes it out to be? I feel like that's what he's kind of admitting here, because he's not actually arguing against that premise. Instead, he's just trying to strawman it into that being the argument the left is making, that weak equals good and strong equals bad. He's not even arguing against that premise, or the premise of Israel having more firepower than any threat from Palestine could, which is literally the basis of like 80% of Zionist propaganda. Okay, I guess he's ceding like 80% of the points that Zionist propaganda like bases itself on.
50 years ago, Israel was not a big issue for the left. Why? Because it was perceived as weak.
No. Excuse me. As far as I'm aware, the left, citation needed by the way, the left has never been in favor of Israel. Now, if by that he means Democrats are still in favor of Israel. The only people who have ever been anti-Israel have been radically left-wing people and neo-Nazis. And they are anti-Israel for the same reasons the people that are radically like left-wing are. Yeah, like being Zionist in America is overwhelmingly popular, both right and left. The average conservative in America is massively Zionist, and simply because of the sake of having to win the popularity contest, that by default kind of means that most Democrats are too. I've yet to see a mainstream Democrat hardcore speak out against the actions of Israel. It just doesn't seem like it's very common.
But after the 1967 Six-Day War, in which Israel achieved a stunning military victory, it all changed. Israel became strong.
I have not learned about the 6 Days War since I was in 6th grade. So correct me if I'm wrong. But didn't that literally result in, like, Israeli soldiers, like, smoking the fuck out of just a shit ton of Palestinians? Like, wasn't it just a fucking slaughter? Like I'm pretty sure what he's wording as decisive, amazing victory was more so like historically looked back on as like a slaughter, right? Casualties. As the commencement of hostilities, both Egypt and Israel announced that they had been attacked by the other country. Wait. At the commencement of hostilities, both Egypt and Israel announced that they had been attacked by the other country first. The Israeli government later abandoned its initial position, acknowledging Israel had struck first. That was how it fucking started! Okay. I hate reading, so I think we've seen enough. That was the very first thing. That was the first sentence of the casualties section. That was the first sentence of the casualties between just Egypt and Israel section during the 6 Days War.
Strong, so Israel became bad, and the Palestinians were weak, so they became good. So
yes.
no matter how much terror Palestinians engage...
This is literally the level of thought that inspired the socialism is when the government does stuff. And the more stuff the government does, the more socialist it is. And when the government does a whole lot of stuff, it's communism. This is literally the conservative, like, propaganda that inspired that ironic meme. You guys thought that meme was, like, over the top stupid? No, it is literally word for word. Replace a few words. Pretty much the same thought process conservatives use. Yeah, no, it is not an exaggeration.
...engaged in, hijacking airplanes, murdering 11 Israeli athletes and coaches at the 1972 Munich Olympics.
Okay.
Blowing up Israelis in pizza parlors.
By the way, one of my favorite things about PragerU videos, and you should always look out for this whenever you're watching something that you may potentially suspect of being propaganda, is when they make arguments or they refer to specific things when instead of citing anything or actually showing a real news article or like citing anything real, they instead show like what PragerU does, which is like an unlabeled, unmarked graph that'll say like, when socialism goes up, happiness goes down, or random like, what Israeli wedding bombed? What story is this referring to? I'm sure plenty of Israeli weddings have been bombed by Hamas. I'm sure that's happened, but like, what they don't actually source anything. Hey Xanderhall, any sources in the description? No PragerU video has ever cited its sources in the description. They do not do that.
And at weddings, the left's position never changed. Palestinians good, Israel bad. Because the Palestinians were weak and Israel was strong.
Amazing.
That's one of the 3 ways the left judges the world. You can test this theory in other ways. Why is the United States bad? Because it's strong. And third world countries that oppose the United States are good. Cuba...
Wait, what? Okay.
For example, has been adored by the left for decades. Never mind that Cuba's...
Okay. Oh, God. All right. Something that you have to realize about propaganda, which is what we're watching right now, is that propaganda will tell you that the world is black and white. That the side they are on is good and is fighting for virtue and justice, and that there is no flaws or no chinks in the armor of their side, and that the bad side is not worth listening to and do not pay attention to them. That is what they will do. Now, this is propaganda. The world is nuanced here. It is not black and it is not shades of gray. It is all black and white. They will not acknowledge the possibility that America has done bad things and Cuba has also done bad things. There is no shades of gray allowed in this scenario. If you acknowledge a world in which it is not black and white, you are seen as completely disregarded. You are a crazy leftist, Antifa, whatever the fuck, and you shouldn't be listened to. That's how these people think. That's how these people show their propaganda out to their audiences, to their very, very impressionable audiences. The Cuba situation is very, very complicated. Where do I start? Fuck. Okay. Cuba's government and Cuba's leadership is not good. There are numerous human rights abuses, numerous instances of just lack of competence in leadership. Many people there have suffered due to, like the behavior of the government. That is true. However, comma, it is also true that the suffering of many Cuban citizens, especially today, is not the fault of the Cuban government or even of its economic system, but arguably the fault of embargoes and tariffs and trade being cut off to some of the most to the largest economies in the world. Cuba has produced some of the best doctors. Cuba has some of the best medical care and some of the best medical research you could really hope to find in the world. My point being that I'm not saying Cuba is good, nor am I saying it's bad. However, this guy is saying Cuba bad, America good. That is what he is saying here. I am willing to acknowledge the world exists in many shades of gray. There are very complicated questions of morality that don't have simple answers, such as the case of like whether or not okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Like a shit ton before okay, hold on, let's go back to fucking I'm actually just going to read you guys the Wikipedia article because why not? The Cuban Revolution was an armed revolt conducted by Fidel Castro and his fellow revolutionaries in the 26th of the 26th of July movement and its allies against the military dictatorship of Cuban President Fulgencio Batista. The revolution began in 1953 and continued sporadically until the rebels finally ousted Batista on the 31st of December 1958, replacing his government. 26 July 1953 is celebrated in Cuba as Dia de la Revolución, the Day of the Revolution, if you guys don't know Spanish. The 26th of July movement later reformed along Marxist-Leninist lines. That was probably a step in the wrong direction. I think that might have been isn't it funny how often you have like this group of based revolutionaries in history that fight off some horrible oppressor, and then somehow Marxist-Leninism gets involved, and later down the line you end up with an authoritarian dictatorship that the entire Western world looks on as an example of why socialism or communism doesn't work. Isn't that interesting? Becoming the Communist Party of Cuba in October 1965. Now here's the problem, though. Relations with the United States. The Cuban Revolution was a crucial turning point in the U.S.-Cuban relations. Although the United States was initially willing to recognize Castro's new government, it soon came to fear that communist insurgencies would spread through the nations of Latin America as they had in Southeast Asia. Can't be having that, right? Meanwhile, Castro's government resented the Americans for providing aid to Batista's government during the revolution. No fucking shit. After the revolutionary government nationalized all U.S. property in Cuba in August 1960, the American Eisenhower administration froze all Cuban assets on American soil, severed diplomatic ties, and tightened its embargo on Cuba. The Key West Havana ferry shut down in 1961. I forgot there used to be a fucking ferry between Key West and Havana, Cuba. Fuck. One of the things I hope I get to live to see is like I want to see Cuba and America have a little bit less tension in my lifetime, because like I literally lived in Florida my whole life, and I was told like stories about how you used to be able to take a fucking ferry from Key West to fucking Cuba, and you just like paid $60 or like $30, and you just rode a boat for like an hour, and you made it to Havana from Key West. You could literally start in Miami. You could start your morning in Miami, drive for a few hours from Miami to Key West, get on a ferry, and ride an hour to Havana. Start your day in fucking Miami and end it in Havana. Literally eat your breakfast in Miami and eat your late lunch in Cuba. God, that would be fucking dope. The U.S. government launched the Bay of Pigs invasion in which Brigade 2506, a CIA-trained force of 1,500 soldiers, mostly Cuban exiles, landed on a mission to oust Castro. The attempt to overthrow Castro failed, with the invasion being repulsed by the Cuban military. The U.S. embargo against Cuba is still in force as of 2020, although it underwent a partial loosening during the Obama administration, only to be strengthened in 2017 under Trump. The U.S. began efforts to normalize relations with Cuba in the mid-2010s and formally reopened its embassy in Havana after over half a century. In August 2015, the Trump administration reversed much of the Cuban thaw by severely restricting travel by U.S. citizens to Cuba and tightening the U.S. government's embargo against the country. Yay, who would have fucking thought? A Republican president made things much fucking worse. Oh, here's a quote from U.S. President John F. Kennedy, interview with Gene Daniel on the 24th of October, 1963. Let's hear what U.S. President John F. Kennedy had to say about Cuba back in 1963. I believe that there is no country in the world, including the African regions, including any and all countries under colonial domination, where economic colonialization, humiliation, and exploitation were worse than in Cuba. In part of owning my country's policies during the Batista regime, I believe that we created, built, and manufactured the Castro movement out of the whole cloth and without realizing it. This is him realizing, by the way, that their support of the Batista regime created all the human rights abuses that he admits exist under the Castro regime. I believe that the accumulation of these mistakes has just jeopardized all of Latin America, and the great aim of the elite alliance of the progress is to reverse this unfortunate policy. This is one of the most, if not the most, important problems in American foreign policy. I can assure you that I have understood the Cubans. I approve the proclamation which Fidel Castro made in the Sierra Maestra. Sorry, my nose be itchy. When he justifiably called for justice and especially yearned to rid Cuba of corruption. I will go even further. To some extent, it is as though Batista was the incarnation of a number of sins on the part of the United States. Now we shall have to pay for those sins. In the matter of the Batista regime, I am in agreement with the first Cuban revolutionaries. That age is so fucking bad, dude. U.S. presidents admitting that they were wrong and then saying the people that they will again in the future turn against and demonize are in the right is really just peak American anti-socialist action, isn't it? Saying, oh yeah, that time we sided against the socialists was really fucked up and bad. We really fucked up there. We're gonna have to make up for that. And then siding against the socialists again in the future. And doing the same fucking thing, dude. Love to see it. Love to fucking see it. There's our little history lesson to debunk some more propaganda. We're about to get lies from PragerU, so I'm glad that we just, preemptively debunked them.
Communist Party has ruined Cuba, that Cubans have no civil rights, and Cuba is one of the poorest countries in the world.
Wow, I actually didn't even expect this dog shit propaganda to stoop this low. I didn't expect it to stoop this low and to be this fucking bad.
Since Cuba is weak, to the left, Cuba is good. The same was true with North Vietnam in the 1960s. It was considered weak.
Bro, I love how they have to, cope so fucking hard. Yes, America did go after these much weaker powers in unjust ways. But we aren't even going to talk about the fact that our reasons for going after these countries and engaging in conflict with them in any way were unjust. We're just going to claim that the only points the left had were that one side was stronger than the other. We're not even going to acknowledge the moral side of the argument and which side had, the most moral weight to their, argument or their side of the war. Not even going to acknowledge that side of things. Propaganda can't do that.
So it was good. The U.S. was strong. so it was bad. It didn't matter that America was trying to preserve the freedom of the South Vietnamese exactly as it had preserved the freedom of the South Koreans.
Hey, Dennis Prager, how does the left feel about the U.S. bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Japan, one of the most powerful countries in the world at the time, allied with Nazi Germany, and America nuked 2 civilian populations in Japan. The left does not support that or look back kindly on that. I'm sorry, I thought Japan was literally allied with the Nazis, one of the most powerful countries in the world. I thought the left only sided with the underdogs. Japan that wasn't really the underdog there until, you know. Oh. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder how he'd acknowledge that. I wonder what Dennis Prager's response would be to that. I think his response would be, get out of here, Antifa hippie, and I think he'd scream and piss himself.
The U.S. was strong, so it was bad. Which brings us back to Israel. The stronger Israel gets, as it effectively defends itself, as its economy grows, and as its diplomatic position improves, the more the...
Japan was even offering surrender in that case America was the overdog. I assumed that that's what he'd say. Was Japan offering surrender? I've heard that case made, but I've also heard the opposite. God, you know what we should do? It's such a long video. I don't know if we can do it tonight. We will watch the Sean video on North Korea, or on North Korea. Why have I say North Korea? I do want to watch a video on North Korea. We watched the video by Sean on the nuking of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's really long, isn't it? Isn't it fucking... It's 3 hours long? Yeah, we'll watch that another night. I do want to watch that, though, because I haven't seen it yet. Yes, Sanderhall, on the condition that they could keep their emperor, America bombed them until they offered unconditional surrender, and then America let them keep the emperor anyway. Oh, wait. America wanted to occupy Japan post-war. Wasn't part of Japan's surrender, like terms that, like, America just be like, okay, we're done, we're good with, let's get out of here, and not that America come in and occupy it like they did for many years afterwards? Because America literally just, like, occupied, like, American troops in Japan for years after the war. There were just armed American troops on the streets and in the ports of Japan for a very long time after the war. I don't know.
The left hates it.
Wow. You know, it really is nice to know that the right has such an easy path to creating effective and very harmful, misleading propaganda on the internet. Love to see it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video somehow, please consider leaving a like, whether you're watching it live, or you're watching the VOD after the fact, or if you're watching the segment when it goes out as a video on YouTube. Leaving a like is not a hollow show of support. It legitimately does send more people to my channel. It really does send more, views to my channel. It really does help the channel out. It forces YouTube to push my content in the algorithm. It helps me more than I think you guys even realize, so please hit that like button. If you want to see more from me on YouTube, you can also hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or I upload a new video. And of course, if you want to see more from me on the internet, you can follow my social medias, which are linked down below, including my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and my fan Discord. And of course, if you want to support me financially directly, you can do so on my website, xanderhall.com/live, in the form of a donation, a gifted sub, or even just a subscription for yourself. You can also support me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, and through Patreon. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.